Now, picture this. A summer night, hot and heavy, cicadas buzzing steady in the trees, a family settling in for a quiet evening, the kind folks take for granted in the country. Then the world above splits open, lights brighter than stars dancing where no plane ought to fly. And out of the dark woods, something big, hairy, and wrong. It weren't just one night, neither. It was a siege, a terror from the sky and from the tree line. This is the tale of the Ohio night siege of 1981. Well, howdy, friends, and welcome back to Kentucky Melody, where the hollers whisper, the ridges remember, and the strange don't stop at no county line. Tonight, we're stepping out of Kentucky and up into Ohio. But don't you fret. The shadows there are kin to ours. We're talking about a siege that shook a quiet family to their bones. Lights from above and creatures walking below. If you think UFOs and Bigfoot ain't tied together, this story just might change your mind. Now it was late June, heat laying over the land thick as sorghum molasses, sticking to your skin and weighing down every breath. Cicadas sang their endless hymn in the trees, a buzzing so steady it near about lulled the family into thinking it was just another quiet evening in Rome Township. Chickens had settled, dogs stretched out in the dirt, and the last light of the sun bled itself red across the horizon. But just as the dusk give way to that deep purplish dark, something comes sliding across the sky that didn't belong there. A light, brighter than any star God ever set in the heavens. It cut the air sharp, moving so fast it near tore the stars right out their sockets. It didn't drift like no airplane, didn't blink like no tower light. It streaked, then stopped dead still, hanging over them fields like it was perched on an invisible nail. Then, quicker than a swallow changing course, it darted off sideways, then back again, zigzagging sharp, like a wasp dancing just before it stings. The family, they blinked, rubbed their eyes, whispered maybe it was just heat lightning or a trick in the sky. But then came that sound. Lord, that sound. It started low, just a tremor, rolling through the grass like the ground was humming to itself. Then it grew, thicker, heavier, till it weren't just heard, it was felt. That hum crawled down into their bones, pressed against their ribs, made their teeth chatter like winter hail. It weren't no storm, 'cause the sky was clear as glass. No clouds, no thunderheads, nothing but that heavy hum hanging in the air like the breath of something waiting. And just when the hair on their arms stood up stiff, the night split open with the screams. Now, folks around here, we know the voices of the night, the lonely yip of a coyote, the screech of a barn owl, even the bawl of a fox that'll chill you if you ain't expecting it. But this was different. It was deep, guttural, dragging out from somewhere too big to belong in these woods. It carried across the fields like it wanted to dig itself into your memory. Make sure you knew it was there. Them screams didn't sound like hunger. They didn't sound like warning. They sounded like something standing out yonder in the dark, letting that family know plain as day. You're being watched. Them lights didn't just vanish after that first night. No, sir. They come back bolder, like they'd found a place they took a liking to. Second night rolled in heavy, air thick and still, the kind where even the trees don't bother to move. The family was already on edge. sitting in that house like folks waiting out a storm that hadn't yet broke. When dusk bled into black, the sky lit again. Not in just one light this time, but two, maybe three, hovering, dancing, changing colors that didn't belong to no natural world. Reds that looked alive, greens that cut like knives, a white so sharp it stung the eyes if you stared too long. They zipped across the heavens, stopping sudden, then shooting off like bullets. But the real terror warn't above. It was what stirred below. At first, it was the dogs, hackles high, teeth bared, barking mad toward the tree line. Then came the sound of branches snapping, not little twigs neither, but the thick kind you'd have to put your shoulder into. Something was moving out there, heavy-footed, deliberate. Shapes began to gather at the edge of the field. Tall, dark, broad-shouldered things that weren't shaped right for no man. They stood still at first, watching. The family swore their outlines were all wrong. Arms too long, heads too low, chests wide as doors. Then came the eyes. Two of them blinked open in the dark, glowing red like embers pulled straight from a blacksmith's forge. They didn't flash like a deer in a headlight. No, these things burned steady, staring right back at the house. And then another pair opened, and another, till it looked like a row of coals smoldering in the tree line. One of the young guns pressed his face to the glass, and what he saw near stole the breath from his chest. The figures shifted, stepping forward, slow, with a gait too smooth and too quiet for something so big. Each movement was deliberate, like they knew exactly how much fear they was stirring with every step. The smell rolled in next, drifting across the field with the breeze. Rank, sour, wet fur mixed with rot, like something had been sleeping in the belly of the earth and crawled up just to stretch its legs. The dog's barks broke into whimpers, tails tucked tight. One yanked so hard it snapped its chain and bolted, disappearing into the night, its cries trailing off into silence. That hound never come back. Inside the house, no one dared breathe too loud. Every creak of the floor sounded like a shout. The father gripped his shotgun, though he knew it wouldn't mean a thing against shadows like those. And as them lights danced overhead, painting the field in flashes of otherworldly fire, the creatures just stood there, watching, waiting, like the sky above and the woods below was in on the same dark secret. By that third night, it weren't just odd lights or far-off shadows no more. The whole place was under siege. The air itself felt charged, like the very ground was holding its breath. The lights came back meaner, dropping so low the tops of the grass bent and swayed in their glow, as if some invisible wind was blowing down from the heavens. They didn't just hover neither. They prowled, sliding back and forth across the yard like hunters circling prey. Each time a beam passed over the house, the walls groaned like they was being pressed in by invisible hands. Then came the booms. Not thunder. No, this was different. Each one shook the windows till the glass near cracked, rattling the mason jars in the pantry so loud it sounded like bones knocking together in the dark. The cupboard doors banged, the lamps swayed, and still them lights hung overhead, humming low like they was enjoying the fear they was stirring. That's when the family swore something stepped onto the porch. The floorboards creaked slow, one heavy foot at a time. Not the scuffle of boots, but the deliberate weight of something big, something that didn't belong walking where people slept. Then came the scrape, low, dragging, like claws or a paw, or maybe a hand, pulling slow across the wooden siding. Each inch of it set their teeth on edge like a rake being pulled across stone. The smell rolled in thick after that, rank, sour, musky, like wet fur left too long in the sun, mixed with rot and something sharp, near chemical. It filled the house, seeping in through cracks and door frames, clinging to their clothes and their skin. Folks gagged, covered their mouths, but there weren't no escaping it. One of the boys, curiosity getting the better of him, eased up the curtain with his fingers and peered out. What he saw near made his knees give out. There, at the edge of the yard, stood a shadow bigger than any man God ever put on this earth. Broad-shouldered, taller than the porch roof, its outline all wrong. When the light from above swept across the field, that thing didn't vanish, didn't flinch. It just froze, standing proud and still, staring at the house with a patience that felt older than the soil itself. The boy swore it looked like it was waiting. Not wandering, not curious. Waiting. Like the orders was coming down from the sky itself, and whatever it was answering to, it warned to this earth. Now, the last night of it, that was the worst by far. Them lights didn't just come drifting like before. No, sir. They come down hard and furious, brighter in high noon, casting shadows sharp as blades across the yard. The farmhouse glowed white like it was fixin' to catch fire. Chickens in the coop beat themselves bloody against the walls. Dogs howled till their voices cracked, and the cattle in the field pressed against the fence rail till it near splintered. The hum rolled back over the land, louder than it had ever been. It weren't just sound no more, it was vibration, deep and mean, crawling through the nails in the walls, rattling the very marrow in your bones. Every dish, every jar, every spoon in the house danced to it, clattering like a chorus of teeth. The family huddled in the front room, knees together, whispering prayers through clenched jaws, too scared to draw a deep breath. Then it happened. A beam cut down from the sky. White hot, wide as a barn door. It tore the night open and swept across the yard like the finger of God pointing out his judgment. And wherever it touched, Lord have mercy, it froze. The tall grass bent, then went still as stone. Fence posts quit their creaking. Even the dust, hanging in the humid air, hung there like it was nailed in place. And in that beam, they seen 'em. Not shadows no more, not half shapes hiding in the timber, clear as sin standing at the tree line. Not one, not two, but three. Shoulder to shoulder, broad as doorways, their heads near brushing the lower branches. Hair, long and matted, hanging off 'em like they'd crawled out of some cave too dark for daylight. Arms dangled low, fingers swaying like pendulums, and their heads, every one of 'em, was tilted back toward that glow in the heavens. The boys swore their mouths was open, like they was chanting or calling something back. But no sound came, just the hum, deep and steady, like the sky itself was speaking for 'em. It looked for all the world like them beasts weren't no strangers to them lights. They was answering, obeying, like soldiers awaiting command. Like the sky above and the creatures below was working hand in hand, part of the same dark army that had laid siege to that little farmhouse. When them lights finally blinked out and the woods fell dead quiet, the family didn't sleep a wink. They sat in that front room with their backs to the wall, every lamp turned low, listening for the next sound that never come. come daybreak, they packed what little they could, hands shaken, eyes red from tears and fear, ready to leave that farmhouse behind like a grave that never got marked. But word has a way of traveling faster than fire through dry brush. Neighbors come nosing round, hats in hand, whispering low. Some admitted they'd heard it too, that god-awful screaming that carried through the fields. Others swore they seen flashes of color flicker through their own curtains, lights that painted their bedrooms in shades no lantern or lightning bug could make. Stories split quick as folks tried to make sense of it. Some called it the Ohio Grassman, Bigfoot's cousin, meaner, nastier, the kind that'd rather tear down a man's fence than sneak past it. Others, eyes wide and voices low, said them things weren't from the woods at all. Said they was passengers delivered here in them crafts, stepped-down soldiers from whatever piloted them lights. Didn't take long for strangers showed. Some carried notepads, asking questions too pointed to be idle curiosity. Others wore plain suits with no names on their badges, or no badges at all. They walked the fields, tapped the porch boards, peered into the woods like they was hunting for something specific. Then they told the family plain, hush it up, forget it, move on. But I ask you this, how do you forget something like that? How do you close your eyes at night, knowing the sky itself opened over your land, and three shadows bigger than men answered to it? How do you put your children to bed after you've seen monsters stand at the tree line, staring like they was just waiting on orders? No, friend, that ain't something you forget. That's something you carry. And maybe, just maybe, that's something still carrying us. So, what was it then? Just a poor family losing their wits to the thick summer heat, imagining shadows where there weren't none? Or was it something far darker, a full-on invasion, lights from another world calling down creatures that don't rightly belong to our woods? Truth is, I can't tell you, and maybe none of us are meant to know for sure. But I'll say this. If you ever find yourself wandering them Ohio fields when the night gets still, too still, you best get yourself inside and bolt the door. 'Cause them lights, they don't always keep to the sky. Sometimes they stop, and when they do, what steps out of that glow don't come knocking to make friends. And if you're unlucky enough to meet it, well, friend, you might not live to tell the tale. Thanks for sitting a spell and listening, friends. Now, I'm curious what y'all think. Was this Ohio night siege proof that them lights in the sky and the hairy giants of the woods are kin to one another? Or was it two hauntings crossing paths on the same unlucky summer night? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear your reckoning. And don't forget to tap that subscribe, 'cause you know good as I do. Out here in these hills, the shadows always got another story waiting. If you think you can sleep after this one, best think again. Click on another story and follow us deeper down the holler road. Kentucky Melodies got plenty more. And out here, the dark don't let go easy.